Photos that pop feel three-dimensional, like scenes you could walk straight into, even though they're just 2D images. But without one key ingredient, photos can fall flat and become lifeless. Today, we're talking about how to create depth in your photos using the most powerful tool every photographer has: light. When I first started, I didn't realize light, or the lack of it, was the reason my photos looked flat. But once I learned these 3 simple lighting tips, everything changed. Seriously. The quickest way to make your photos look flat is to use flat light, like when the sun is directly behind you or high overhead. That removes shadows in most cases, and without shadows, your photo loses all sense of depth. Think about those times you've taken a picture with the sun behind you, lighting your subject from the front. Everything is evenly lit and bright, but it feels flat. Why? Because there's no shadow. So how do we get shadow? By changing the direction of our light. Side light, when your light source is to the side of your subject, or backlight, light coming from behind your subject, creates shadows and gradients of light. This is what builds dimension. When you're able to see both highlight and shadow in an image, we perceive it as three-dimensional. Our eyes read those shadows as depth. It's how we know objects are closer or farther away. This is why golden hour, just after sunrise or just before sunset, works so well and is so recommended. The sun is lower in the sky, so you can position yourself to light your subject from the side, behind, or somewhere in between. You light your subject, and because the sun is low, you also get nice long shadows building depth. Now, that doesn't mean you can't shoot in midday sun or on overcast days. You absolutely can, and you can still create photos with depth in those scenarios. It just takes being a little more intentional with how you use contrast and layering, which we're going to get into right now. Depth comes from the separation of light, the difference between bright areas and shadows. This is contrast. If everything in your photo is the same brightness, it all blends together and looks flat. But when you have separation, one part of your photo bright, another part dark, the image starts to feel three-dimensional. Like I mentioned before, our eyes use those differences in brightness to judge space and distance. Think about photographing on an overcast day. The light is soft and even, everything in your scene is a similar brightness and color with super soft shadows. It's probably kind of flat, but if the sun breaks through and highlights just your subject while the rest falls into shadow, you have layers and depth. So when you're shooting, you want to look for those moments of separation, light against dark or dark against light. That contrast is what's going to build depth in your image, which goes right into tip number 3. The third way light creates depth is through the layering of light. When you have multiple visual elements in your scene, a subject in front of a background, or a foreground, midground, and background, any number of things stacked front to back, but they're all the same brightness, it again feels flat. What we want is a difference in brightness between them. You want light and dark alternating, or in some cases, a gradation of light front to back, or across the image. When every layer looks the same, your eye doesn't know where to go. Light can naturally separate these layers. Let's start with a really simple example that shows layers of brightness. Notice how in this image the sand in the foreground is dark. Then you have the bright water in the middle, followed by the dark island, and then the light sky in the background. That's layering of light. Now let's look at a scene not shot at golden hour so we can see this in practice in a different scenario. Here, starting from the bottom of the frame closest to the camera, you have bright water, then the dark statue, followed by more bright water behind, and then the dark mountains and the bright sky. See how it goes light, dark, dark, light. That layering of brightness is what helps communicate depth in a 2D image. Or in this photo, the plants and trees are darker. The field in the middle is bright, then you have a row of dark trees, followed by the lighter sky. My subject, this tilted berry tree, is dark, so it's placed against the light sky. But it doesn't always need to go back and forth light, dark, light, dark. Sometimes it'll be a gradient from dark to light across the image. In this image, the top right corner is brightest, and as you go across the frame to the bottom left, it becomes darker. And this only happens because of that direction of light we talked about before. The light source is coming from that back corner, and the sun is low, so it sweeps across the frame, creating this gradient of light. So when you're out shooting, you want to train your eye to notice how light falls on different layers in your scene, and look for that pattern of dark, light, dark, or the gradation of light, from light to dark or dark to light, to create depth. So if your photos feel flat, check your light. Depth comes from direction, contrast, and layering. I hope you learned something new today. If you want to learn more about creating depth but through composition, you'll love this video. Link in description as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.